Hello, beloved humans. Welcome in this space. Today I'm going to talk about community as the ecology of belonging. We humans, we are deeply social beings, and we cannot truly, fully become our most alive version if we are in isolation and in fragmentation. We truly need a bigger family with other humans. Like, even it's not like massively big, but there are even some numbers which I'm going to share later. But we need a body of mirrors of different other humans and other life forms, so that we can actually truly live, be. And I know from myself this deep yearning to belong, to be part of, to be truly, a place where okay, here I can be, I am felt, I am met, I am heard. It's such a deep necessity of all of us. And I know that so many of us don't truly experience that, or just partially of that. And if we do, we are very lucky that we have really these deep relationships and connections where the sacredness of life is truly pulsing, because that is what it is. When we feel like, yes, this here we belong, there is this profound connection, at the same time the freedom that we can also unfold. And I definitely feel like it's on a global scale, it's deeply missing for many of us. And how important is that we really, start creating again vessels of this depth and of this freedom and of this true coherence. So for a long time I have been visiting different communities. When I was 19, I already went to Findhorn in Scotland, an intentional community. And all my life, I lived in different communities. I visited different communities, intentional communities. And I've learned a lot from these places. And I really understand that in many ways, community is the wealth of the future. And I want to name that not only, intentional communities, which have so much value, but I really refer as community as a consciousness. And also so much more than human communities, but also communities with other life forms, with the plant world, with the animal world, with the minerals, with the spirit worlds. And it really comes down to communication, co-creation, cooperation, where we are with solidarity, for each other's existence. So these are very important themes to really look into, like, where do I live that in my everyday life? This whole series, I'm gonna release these videos in 10 videos in one moon, is dedicated to this deep inquiries, hopefully reaching people that want to receive these practices and prayers and inspirations to reflect on and start to inquire and implement in their own real life. And I really am sharing from my own life experience, leaning into the cosmology of what I have received through my life journey. And this is never the truth. It's just coming out of what I have composted from my experiences. And this is an ongoing process, really, as a living library. And that it really is, please take whatever serves you and please leave whatever doesn't serve you. It really is in that, aliveness of certain things, they have a resonance and others don't, and to really be in this deep listening. And I want to, a big part of why I'm doing this, because in a way I offer these videos on YouTube channel for free into the global community. Whoever has access, which many people these days have access to the internet, they can watch this. So this is also a service that I offer to the free community, really as a very conscious practice to share the life experience that I could experience because of my privilege to being a white woman, privilege of education, privilege of traveling, privilege of many other realities that I had access to. And in a way, like, it's my own synthesis of all the different things that I think that could maybe serve someone and maybe give, something to work with. And so I really want to encourage you to ask questions, to comment on what is a life for you, because even if we are in this artificial community right now while you're listening to this, it is all about your humanness and my humanness, and that it's not about that we need to be perfect, but that we are invited to be real. Because community is all about giving and receiving. It's all about deeply knowing, feeling, living in a way that we are interconnected beings, and that we could not exist alone, that we cannot exist alone. That all of this planet is deeply in itself, in its incarnated truth, a communitarian being. And how modernity and neoliberalism is telling a story that is just not sustainable and is not real. And in that sense, I use also the word ecology, because it's the logic of life, and also that we all belong on this planet here and now. If we wouldn't, just in existing, we belong. That also means we belong with our stories of our ancestors, stories also of extraction and pain and injustice in all the different real layers that life has brought, and especially the last centuries and millennia have created on this planet. So this is also me knowing that, as a white woman, I have gained so much access to realities that has created for other women, other humans, other life forms, a lot of suffering, and wanting to really use my sharing as a composting process. And not in saying, it's not about blaming and pointing fingers, and also not in feeling ashamed, because ultimately my grandparents and parents and grandparents, they also just did what they could to survive, and they didn't know better. So it's not about, the game, blame, shame, but it's about understanding the interconnectedness of our realities and what choices we made, what has created an impact. And so this is also understanding the depth of how communitarian we are set up, and that it is our responsibility now to see okay, how can I now, with all the stories that I have received, no matter if it's which side of the success wheel, I am, that I can come into, this is the peace that I can offer, this is the peace that I can live, so that it creates consciously a more peaceful, more beautiful, more just, more coherent, more alive planet. And again, this starts always in small movements, small pockets. I'm married to a Brazilian husband, Brazilian man. I have a very mixed daughter with our lineages. I am living here in Brazil, and I understand that a lot of colored people here in Brazil have not had access to even, go into deep spaces of reflection. And even if I'm still using English words, I hope that this also comes to more communities and circles of women, but also of men. Mainly this work is for women, but it's equally important to support, women in every direction, and also to understand the feminine principles more deep, so that it really can, go to communities of Black, Indigenous women that have been deeply, deeply suppressed and extracted from and violated. Because this is, in a way, like I feel it in my body. I feel in my body how the violence that is happening in this moment still, like systematically and in different moments, it's also here. Even if I can numb a lot, and if I can, even separate my conscious journey and just from the rest in a certain aspect, it is not, when I fully listen to my body, that is not the truth. And I wish that on the long term I can actually work so much more and so much deeper, and this is also my commitment to work, on the land that is coming to us to steward, with women who have been living there for a long, long time. Because I feel, yes, we have the freedom to move, that we should have the freedom. I have the freedom with a Swiss passport, pretty much. I can move pretty much wherever I want to move. Yet, I feel like we should all have that freedom to listen, where do I need to be, in which time, and how long. Yet, what is very important when we start to live deeper with land, that we truly study and feel and listen to the stories of the land. And this is for me also community building, to really, this is what I'm starting to do now on the lands that come into our stewardship, to really inquire, what kind of human stories, what kind of plant stories, what kind of animal stories, what kind of spirit stories are here present for a long time. And as I am now here with my husband and my daughter, birthing a community project, what wants to be felt and heard. And in a way, it's almost we need to learn, each of us in some form, to really understand every piece of land that, as a layer of different stories, but also every human and every animal, that we are all, that's why I love so much the word ecology, because it's really the logic, the knowing of life, and to understand how interconnected we become, and only become. So I have been on this journey studying a lot around community, and how can we create community. First of all, I want to, as I said earlier, Dunbar's number is a number which is around 150 people. That is said, this is connected to our brain development, that is said that mirrors, in a way, the body of every human, that we need around 150 people that we can relate intimately to in different archetypes. So that where we have children, and we have elders, and we have women, and we have men, and we have queers, and we have, all the different, the shaman, and the warriors, and the nurturers, and the different archetypes. Of course, that's much more complex, but just to give a little sketch, so that we can ourselves really see the wholeness, the integral mirrors of who we are and who we are here now in this lifetime to become. And whenever we outgrow that number, then we start to swap. So if I have 150 people that I'm connected to, and of course in different stages, the ones that I'm very intimate, the ones that I know, and then the ones that I see sometimes, or heard about. And this is what our brain is designed in a way. And so when there is more of that, then I start to swap. I when there's more people coming in. And now in our times where there is not anymore this true connection, but this explosion of possibilities of connection, we of course also lose a lot the depth and the realness of connections. Like, I know so many people who are struggling so much, myself included, who have been struggling or are struggling so deeply in the depth of relationships, and not only with their beloved or beloveds, but also with their family, with their friends, where it's like, a certain aspect, but then other things are just, you can just, fragment, you can just run away. And I really understand so much deeper now how deeply that impacts us, and how it impacts us in the sense of it really explodes the collective movements of isolation and loneliness and solitude. But it does so much more. It really we can also so much more easily slip into illusions of who we are and who we are not, and create a whole life or life phases around topics that actually are not our deepest truth. Because in deep communitarian relationships, we have also deep mirrors and deep practices of actually needing to face things, conflicts, needing to face and work through repair processes, but also ceremony and celebration, and really the different aspects of being human are witnessed, are felt, are shared. And this also makes us that we feel that we belong, that we belong to to our people, that we belong to this earth. So it's like really also there on a very concrete level, also the elements, like that we are really in connection with the soil, that we are in connection with the waters, connection with fire, connection with the weather, connection with the plants, connection with the animals. That helps us to really feel how we belong. And the more we have this infrastructure that creates, the square boxes in our apartments and in our workplaces, and we deeper and deeper create this disconnection, and where we think that we can function in this isolated way, and we lose community, we lose really the connection ultimately to ourselves. And I really feel this is happening on a big scale so fast, and I don't know what the consequences are going to be or already are. I can't grasp it fully. I can only see bits and pieces of the on our planet, because of course it's very complex. But this is an invitation here and now to see, like, how can you, in your reality, in your just fell down, and because we leave the realness, which is gonna continue. How can you really truly change something in your approach towards community. And sometimes it's already enough, when there is one focus on per moon, like, okay, this moon I'm gonna focus on my neighbors. This moon I'm gonna focus on getting to know the plants that are around me, even if I live in the city. This moon I'm gonna focus on my grandparents. This moon I'm gonna focus on my parents, my mother, my father, my siblings. And what can I change that I feel that I'm more deeply sharing who I am and sharing, listening, maybe asking some questions who they are. I hear my daughter again coming, so maybe this is a rather short one today. There's also no electricity, so it's all a bit... So, okay, this is my finish. My daughter is already here and drinking her milk. This video will then be a short one. I really want to keep this as real as possible. So I'm gonna keep it as it is. And it's really just aliveness, of different topics that come and go. And it's gonna change with time. And so always feel free to share, to ask questions, to comment how it lands for you, how it helps you or not. Because this is about connecting and communicating and cooperating and co-creating and being in solidarity to these big movements that we are all going through individually and collectively, and just creating small places, containers of coherence. So this is also an experiment, as I said. Okay, sending much love. Ciao.